What if the patterns you keep repeating, the fears you can't explain, or even the parts of yourself you've never fully understood have a deeper origin than you even realize? What if the answers aren't somewhere outside of you, but already within you? Welcome back to High Frequency Mind Podcast. I'm Lindsay Goodwin, the consciousness medium, and today we're going deep into the subconscious mind, the soul, hypnosis, past lives, multidimensional consciousness, and the process of remembering who we truly are beneath our conditioning. My guest today is Julianne Thon, a certified practitioner of introspective and transpersonal hypnosis, who guides people through profound inner journeys of remembrance and self-discovery. Julianne's path began through her own deeply personal spiritual awakening that eventually led her to introspective hypnosis, a modality that explores not simply how to change a pattern, but what may exist beneath it. In this conversation, we explore how the subconscious can reveal the origins of recurring patterns, what happens during introspective hypnosis, the possibility of past lives and simultaneous timelines, our connection with the higher self, spirit guides, and multi-dimensional consciousness. And as you'll hear throughout this conversation, Julianne and I don't claim to have all the answers. We're asking the bigger questions. So stay curious, tune out the noise, go within, and let's get today's conversation going with Julianne Thon. Welcome back to High Frequency Mind. I'm so excited to welcome you to this episode with my guest, Julianne Thon, and we are going to have an absolutely incredible conversation today. So welcome, Julianne.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I am looking forward to this. It's so nice to be on the other side.
Yes, absolutely.
Of an interview and conversation. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You have quite a spiritual experience, and we're going to talk about spirit guides. We're going to talk about hypnosis. We're going to talk about the subconscious mind. So much great stuff. So why don't you tell us more about, I like to think of our journeys as a remembrance of really remembering who we truly are versus that there's something wrong with us and we need to heal, and that it's the answers are not already within. So what was it really about the experiences that you had that really brought you back to yourself, and how this journey that you're on, how you really were led into dedicating your life to helping others remember this wisdom and awareness and the power that already exists within them?
Well, thank you for that question. That's a good one. I have always been fascinated by the deeper questions of life.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of philosophy in college. I was raised in my home setting with a very liberally educated mother who was very much so into the arts. And we had conversations from the time I was a little girl. I observed my parents having conversations around philosophies. So that's kind of what got it started. But as I began to get older, I really began to have those questions like, what is it that makes us think the way that we think? Why do certain patterns and behaviors keep repeating in our lives? That is there more to us than just our physical bodies? So all of that combined with the many personal experiences that I've had and encountered led me ultimately to hypnosis.
Yeah.
I discovered that hypnosis itself isn't about someone taking control of your mind. It's actually about helping people quiet the constant chatter of their conscious mind so that they can access the incredible wisdom that's already within them. And once I experienced all of the profound healing that I began to experience myself and then see within my clients, that could actually happen in that state, I knew this was the work that I wanted to devote myself to. So therefore, today I help people to uncover the root causes of their emotional struggles, limiting beliefs that they might have, and
Mhm.
reoccurring life behaviors and patterns, really important, and we'll talk about that, so that they can experience genuine healing and transformation.
I love that. And it's really interesting because you mentioned something about the conscious mind and how that, to me, I think of all the layers that get put on us, and it does create this forgetful, like you forget who you truly are. And so that's really the remembrance. So you, from a young age, were very interested in philosophy and how the universe works and why things, asking those bigger questions. And so this really led you into this work of being able to help others to feel more curious about the experience versus just being very machine like of moving forward on a very linear path. So I really love that. That's really great. And so there's something that's really interesting what you do. It's called introspective hypnosis. And I'm a hypnotherapist as well, but I'm not trained in this particular area of hypnotherapy. And so this is really interesting to me. And I'm so excited for you to talk about that. And um, what exactly, like, how did you get into that work? And also, I want to know as well exactly what it is, because people listening to this that may not be familiar with it, but curious about hypnotherapy. So tell us more.
So what got me into hypnosis in general
Mm-hmm.
was years ago, my husband and I were caring for my stepfather, who was in his 90s, and he was living with us. And he had so many questions about transitioning. He was born, it was so interesting. He was born and raised as a Baptist in the South,
Mm-hmm.
but he eventually expanded what his spiritual world was about, and um, sort of went way beyond that. And then in his 90s, he kind of started going back to what he remembers learning as a child. And I've seen a lot of people, especially elderly individuals who are almost centurions, who go through this sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And he was a very, very bright man. But when it came to the questions he had about heaven, he said he wondered if the death rate is that high, how can everybody fit on the other side? You know, still very much in that 3D world. So I started looking for, I was on a heavy duty spiritual journey by that point,
Mm-hmm.
and I had taken lots of classes and educated myself like I couldn't get enough information regarding our soul, who we are beyond our physical selves. And I wanted somehow to, without feeling like I literally was going to give him a class, I wanted to give him ideas to think about that were comforting for him. And
Mm-hmm.
I discovered Dolores Cannon. So
Mm-hmm.
this was back in what was it, 2015 and 16, something like that, just shortly, I think, after she had died. And I had never heard of hypnosis done in the way that she talked about it. So I
Mm-hmm.
bought a lot of her books, and also played for him some of our lectures that really gave some comforting ideas about um, what life is like on the other side. In the meantime, I came across a different type of hypnosis that you could study here in Colorado. And that was a different type of hypnosis, but it really focused on Freudian and especially uh, Jungian aspects of philosophy and of the psychological aspect of hypnosis and the archetypes, especially. The
Mm,
archetypes, Carl Jung just fascinates me.
yeah.
And I study him a lot when I was studying this kind of, this particular type of hypnosis. And so I finished, and I was utilizing this type of hypnosis, but I just felt like I always had one hand tied behind my back. Like it just wasn't letting me go where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I was meditating one day and I heard my guide say, introspective hypnosis. So I looked into it and started researching that and found a man that is from Peru. His name is Antonio Sangio. So I decided that I would study with him and I would go ahead and do that online. So I did. And I was just fascinated by the things I was learning. And it was okay what I had studied before because it gave me an outstanding foundation to go to that next step. And that next step with introspective hypnosis just blew everything into this expanded version of the spirit, the soul, the understanding of who we are as spirit beings having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it has become so much more for me than just hypnosis. It has become a way for me to spiritually evolve. And I would have to say, if you were to ask me, well, what's the difference between the hypnosis that you do and other traditional types of hypnosis? I would say that other hypnosis endeavors focus on symptoms of relief or helping somebody, for example, quit smoking, losing weight, reducing anxiety, changing a particular habit. But introspective hypnosis, among many, many things, goes much, much deeper. Rather than simply changing behaviors, it's a way to explore why those behaviors exist in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It can guide clients into this deep state of awareness, which is so important, where the client can really investigate their subconscious mind that I refer to as the soul,
Mm-hmm.
unresolved emotional experiences that they have, and many, many spiritual questions that so many have, and really even guide them towards past lives if that's where they need to go in order to heal. So the goal isn't just to feel better for a while. It's really to uncover the origin of the issue so that genuine healing can occur.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. You said something that's I'm curious about, just your perspective. Do you believe in past lives?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I see it all the time with my clients, all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, I never, I never accept clients that get in touch with me and say, I want to know who I was in a past life.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as a practitioner, that's not for me what I believe is really this should be about. If you want that, and that's where you are in your journey, your life's journey, there are thousands of hypnosis practitioners out there that will take you to for what they say are past lives. I never guarantee that because I know and have watched in every single case, the client's soul makes the decision in conjunction with my spirit guides and the client's spirit guides. It's a collaboration between all of us in terms of where that soul needs to go in order for the soul to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And because the soul is no doubt infinite, no beginning, no ending,
Mm-hmm.
it carries the memories with it. And it's there infinitely. So there may be circumstances which happened in a past life that is causing the client much grief or dismay in their current life. It may be that things happened to them when they were a baby or when they were a child that really set up the difficulties that they're having now. It could be that they experienced some things in the womb in this lifetime that set them up for some challenges that they were to have. But I don't take the client there. And the client's humanness is not going to take them there. It's the client's soul. They're just going to bring them where they need to go. That said, I have seen amazing past life sessions. Just amazing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, you know, there's so many different perspectives. I think I'm always curious about, are there really past lives, or is it that there's just different timelines for us and we think they're past lives? It could be different versions of us that are all happening at the same time. And so why the human experience, why we feel like, how could that be possible? Because I feel like this is just me, like this is all me right now. But I think that might be part of the human amnesia, and part of this experience is to not remember all of the other lifetimes that are going on. So, but I'm just always curious. That's definitely something I ask a lot of questions about. It's just, what do we really know? You know,
Well,
obviously there's experiences happening because people have them, and I've had experiences with, I guess, what you would call past lives too. But then I'm often thinking, well, maybe that's just a version of me on a different timeline. I don't know. So,
well, to your point, and you bring up a good point. Through my studies and my conversations with my guides, through many, 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 many meditation sessions, and trying to understand quantum and mechanical physics the best I can.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I absolutely believe that everything is happening all at once.
mm-hmm,
And so there is no such thing as a past, present, and a future. That our timeline here on Earth is here for a reason.
mm-hmm,
It's for the lifetimes that we that we choose to come here, and the evolution that we want to take. And we don't live that long here, and compared to other entities who exist in other parts of the universe. Living from 80 to 90 years, that's nothing. I mean,
mm-hmm,
lots of ETs that scientists have actually had conversations with. Some of them live to be 2,000 years old,
mm-hmm,
and they often make the decision when it's time for them to make a transition. But here, this linear time that we set ourselves up for, it serves us well in the 3D experience.
right.
For those of us who know that that's quite limiting and have experienced so much of what we need to experience in that 3D perspective, when it's time for us to move to 5D or 4D, whatever, the 3D doesn't serve us as well.
Mm-hmm,
And that's where, if we can try to wrap our head around the idea that there's no such thing as time in the way we think of it,
mm-hmm,
that talk to Neil deGrasse Tyson about this, listen to what he has to say about it. Time is not linear. The remembering that you speak of, Lindsay, the other thing I have learned in the conversations with my guides is that it serves a purpose for us to have the slate wiped clean in order to come here.
mm-hmm,
If our soul is infinite and it is carrying hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes, how could you possibly learn in the human experience? If you're carrying all that with you, you would go mad, right? No way.
right.
So we have to come into this world in order to experience the 3D and the human experience the best that we can. And in order to do that, we have to come in with not a lot of other preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm,
That doesn't mean that we don't come in already with a heavily saturated spiritual understanding of things.
mm-hmm,
And then we decide ultimately what trajectory we're going to put ourselves on, utilizing that spiritual experience or those spiritual experiences that we bring with us. But So I think that that's really important for us. But ultimately we get to a point, some of us, where that doesn't serve us any longer, and we are ready to make the transition into that understanding that everything's happening all at once, and that there is, in fact, other dimensions that are happening and going on that are literally right next to us. They're all around us.
Mm-hmm.
And through studies of quantum physics, we know that experiences and existences of particles, atoms, probably the human spirit and human soul, can jump timelines.
Mm-hmm.
They've been able to prove, certainly, that particles can. And so if one is willing to think in terms of that understanding, then it's just carte blanche. And it takes a lot of responsibility too, because if you want to believe this and you want to study this and research this, but also as a healer, you want to help heal with it, then, like you said, and this is excellent of you, Lindsay, you have to be very open-minded, very open to whatever is out there, because that's the only way that we're going to ultimately be able to learn
Mm-hmm.
and experience the things that we need to.
Mm-hmm. And I feel too that that's a lot of what introspective hypnosis is it's really giving people the opportunity to be encouraged to believe whatever they're feeling is aligned with them versus that, no, that's not right. That's not how you do this. It's often when people will ask me how to meditate properly. And I laugh, not at them, but like at the whole, why are we trying to be so perfect? There really is no right or wrong way to do it. Really, the only way that's important, I guess, is to focus on being in nothingness. Like just focus on just being with yourself and going inward and being comfortable. But as far as like how you should sit, if you can lay down, like, should I use crystal? Should I have my fingers, together and whatever this is called? I don't even know what this is called. Like or in a lotus pose, no, no. It's all in what feels aligned to you. And I feel and what I'm feeling that introspective hypnosis, that's a lot of what it is encouraging people to be comfortable with what they're experiencing. So if they're talking to a spirit guide that looks like I'm serious when I say this, that looks like a blue panda and its name is, I don't know, just picking a name, Bob or something. Well, yes, of course, that's what you're seeing. We're not going to say that, oh no, like and I'm not saying traditional hypnotherapy necessarily tells people that they can't, if they're experiencing something, but it is much more scientific. I feel that this is much more in alignment with the spirit world. And essentially, we all are spirit. Like everything is spirit, everything is energy. And even quantum physics is saying that. So science is starting to say that. So I don't know. Am I on the right track with that? Is that more of what introspective hypnosis is more encouraging people to be comfortable with really their own internal world and to be comfortable with what they're seeing and feeling?
Yeah, and having an open mind,
Mm-hmm.
and not having expectations that, oh, I have to go to a past life because I really think that's why I'm having some of these issues, because I think I was a princess in a past life, and
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. If you come in with those kinds of notions, then you're not going to be able to experience the healing that you need to. In the case of introspective hypnosis, the client comes to me. First of all, we have an interview,
Mm-hmm.
and we make sure that we're a good fit.
Yeah.
And secondly, I learn a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
And in interviewing them, I both, because of my training, B, because of the experience I've had with so many clients,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately C, by intuition, I can figure out almost always where we need to begin.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the last things I always ask my clients is, what is it that your soul needs in order to heal today? And then
Mm-hmm.
they tell me through their perspective, what they think that is. And then through the session, the client remains conscious and aware the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Most people describe it as being deeply relaxed while becoming incredibly focused internally.
Mm-hmm.
As a facilitator, then I ask questions rather than provide answers. I never tell the client what they're going to experience. Instead, I help them explore whatever naturally arises. I will help take them to the point where they are ready to be free and explore.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I just gently support and guide them based on what my guides and my intuition tells me
Mm-hmm.
they need. Very often, the subconscious mind or the soul begins connecting experiences and memories that will explain why someone is struggling with certain emotions or reoccurring situations. Some of the very things that they're, for example, if a client comes to me and says, I don't understand why, no matter what I do, I can't seem to make any money. I just can't hold on to it. I don't know what it is. And that may seem like a simplistic example, but let's just go with that for a while.
Yeah.
The 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 point of the session is to help the client see why that's happening, and if there's something perhaps much, much deeper that causes them to hold on to this deep-seated belief that they don't deserve money or whatever the case is. And their soul, if that's really important and that's what they need in order to heal, their soul will take them where they need to go. And that might very well be in a past life where they made some sort of a mandate that said maybe they had a great deal of money at one point in a past life, and they feel that as a result of the money, they lost their entire family or lost all the people that they loved. Somehow that was connected with them having a lot of money. And they may have mandated before they died, I will never do this again. I'll never have money again. Well, because the soul is infinite and those experiences and those memories stay with the soul. Here we are in 2026, and the soul is speaking loudly saying, this is your problem. You told yourself that you would never make money again. You'd never have a lot of money. So then at that point, it's helping the client through this session understand why they made that mandate, what it's doing in a connection to their life today, what it's caused, and then how they can heal from that experience and then get rid of what's no longer serving them in this lifetime. So very often the subconscious mind begins connecting experiences and memories that is explaining why that client is struggling with certain emotions or other recurring situations like that. Many clients, by the time they leave with insights that they never expected and have often these profound sense of peace when they leave. But then they take it home and then they have to digest everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I urge them, I always send them a recording of the session because they need to watch it several times because they're going to forget a lot of what happened during the session. And then when answers come to them or more questions come to them because of their search, then I urge them to write those questions and those answers down. And they almost always come to me for a second session because they have so many more questions. And it really opens up a world for them. And they begin to understand that they are expanding and understanding who they really are. Like, it's all about learning to know the self.
Yeah.
Why we're here, what we're supposed to be learning in this particular lifetime.
It's interesting that you brought this up because I actually have a past life memory of being a Chinese emperor. And I think it's crazy because I never really understood why all of a sudden I just had this interest in traditional Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophy. And it just like came out of nowhere. And then I had this past life regression that I did through self hypnosis. And I met a version of myself that was a Chinese emperor. And so then I realized, oh, well, that makes sense why I really like Eastern philosophy and Chinese medicine, because that was part of my lifetime in another experience somewhere, whether that past or it's going on right now. But I was very wealthy, obviously, as an emperor. And I think I did things probably not me per se, but in that lifetime that were probably not the best alignment with compassion. And so this lifetime is very different. And there has been a lot of money blocks. And I wonder if I told myself that as well, that I'm never going to have money again. I'm going to struggle with money. Money is bad. And it's often, I wonder if a lot of people on this earth, souls, are having that experience, because think of how many people struggle with money. I mean, I know you brought that up because that's probably very common. That was
Mm-hmm.
something I was going to ask you too, is what's a common pattern that you see with the people that you work with? What would be another pattern that you would see that's quite common?
Anxiety,
Yeah, that feels aligned.
especially in today's world.
Mm.
Boy, people have so much anxiety and they don't understand why.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it comes from? Like based on what you're seeing?
It could come from a plethora of circumstances, either previous lifetimes or now. Um, a lot of this anxiety is coming for, well, several different reasons. It's so hard to just pinpoint one reason. One reason, I'll give you a few, is
Yeah.
that a lot of people are searching for something deeper. They can actually feel that there is a calling, something deeper within themselves is calling to them, and they can't quite explain what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes there's angst around that. Other people, more obviously, who watch the news and hear what's going on, not just here in the United States with our government, but what's going on worldwide. They're feeling a loss of control. And there's a lot of fear there because, let's face it, our news outlets are very fear-based on both sides.
Right.
That's how they sell. So if they can get you into that practice of looking to them for the answers all the time, then you're hooked. So that, in addition to other things that people may have experienced in the womb,
Mm-hmm.
where they as a fetus, they overheard a conversation with their parents one day, or their mother, where perhaps they heard their mother say, "I'm not ready to have this baby. I don't want to be pregnant right now." And that was sort of the feeling throughout the pregnancy. I have had some individuals go back to the womb,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had to work through that. And a lot of the discoveries of those conversations, what they mean, what they said, it's a lot of it is about role playing. And what's really interesting is, in all these circumstances where people are, whether they are just looking spiritually or they really have an issue that they want to get rid of, almost always role playing comes into it. And it's about also helping the client to understand the perspective through the other person's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if this individual is feeling very sad or a lot of anxiety because no matter how much their mother loved them, they heard them when they were in utero saying, I don't want this child. I'm not ready to be pregnant again. Ultimately, we can do some role playing and they can switch and allow the mother's higher self or the mother's soul to speak and explain why she had that apprehension, what was going on in her life that caused her to feel that way. I have seen that same kind of role playing take place and serve the client well, especially with different kinds of abuse and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many adults want to know their number one question to their parents or people who may have abused them is why? Why did you do it? And through role play, it's amazing what expressions come through. And it also helps people forgive, because that's one of the most important aspects of all of this in terms of introspective hypnosis. It's about the forgiveness of others and the forgiveness of yourself.
Right, absolutely. And I'm curious, what do you mean by role playing? So when you talk about role playing, I the person that you're working with, your client, they absolutely can express their experience. But how do you, as being the other side of helping role play, like how would you actually connect with an experience that you weren't a part of?
So the first thing we do is, again, my guides are working with their guides,
Mm-hmm.
is I always ask permission
Mm-hmm.
for example, the mothers, if it's a mother, not just archetype, but an actual parent who did the abuse, performed the abuse, asking their higher self to come forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's always done with a great deal of love, a great deal of respect. There's never any judgment. It's not at all what this is about.
Yeah.
And I've only probably had one circumstance where the individual refused to come through. And that was fine. Then we went on to something else. But in the case where it all happened, the conversation goes on with the client. And usually if, for example, if the trauma happened to the client as a child, then the client, through the child's eyes, is going to ask the parent the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the parent is then going to tell or give the answers.
Mm.
So there is this back and forth that's happening where the client switches and becomes the parent, and then goes back to being the child, and then becomes the parent. So that in each case, they have the ability to see through the eyes of that parent and understand why that parent did some of the things that they did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Doesn't mean that they're going to get an answer that they're willing to live with. Doesn't mean they're going to get an answer and be able to go, oh, well, I see. Well, then no problem. I can forgive you for that. This takes a lot of work, a
Yeah.
lot of work and a lot of responsibility and discipline to know that you have to go in with the mindset and the spirit set that you are willing to forgive. No matter what happens, you're willing to forgive.
Absolutely. And so that makes a lot of sense, because all of the information is within the self. So it makes sense that they would actually have those memories. Just maybe they have stored them away, and we tend to do that to protect ourselves. Um, but what if you were communicating? I know that you don't identify yourself necessarily as a medium, or do you?
I have been told that I have some psychic and medium qualities, but I have chosen not to pursue that in a professional way.
Mm-hmm. Do you consider Julianne, do you consider yourself more of like an energy channel? So you're channeling messages and then you're delivering those to the people that really, maybe it's clients or even just people just in general that you're meant to help. Do you feel that's more in alignment for you? Yeah.
That's probably the best way to put it. For example, there are times in a session where we're deep into it, deep into the session. And perhaps the client is on another planet,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps to show the juxtaposition, perhaps the client is reliving a rape
Mm-hmm.
of when they were a child. There were times, particularly in the beginning, where as the practitioner, you have to be careful to separate yourself
Mm-hmm.
from the emotions that are going on there, because at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and there's no getting rid of those emotions. But as a practitioner, you have the responsibility to remove yourself from that so that you can be effective and therefore effectively guide or help to support your client. So there were times where I would hear something so horrific, and I would literally have to just ask my guides to tell me where to go next. I could see that the client needed something, and I needed to be there for the client. And boy, when it happens, the channeling is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The channeling that takes place through me, and it's a situation where when the session is over, you just ask yourself, where the heck did that come from? But then, of course, you know where it came
Mm-hmm.
from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you feel some of these experiences sometimes? Like, for example, where someone has had extreme trauma and you're channeling energy and you're asking your guides and their guides really how to be able to help the client. Do you feel that you experience some of those experiences?
I think in the very, very beginning, I struggled a little bit with it, but not much. It was like when you're meant to do something,
Right.
again, the experiences are already there.
Mm-hmm.
So there were times when you just know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were times when I have and still have to ask my guys to come in to know where to go next. But I feel that they're with me always throughout the entire
Mm-hmm.
session. And understand, these sessions are not an hour long. These sessions are anywhere between 2 to 4 hours long.
One thing that I need to have you briefly talk about that's really important that I feel that people know is the difference between this sort of work, even traditional hypnotherapy. This is very therapeutic, very, very respected work. I'm not a huge fan of the being hypnotized, the magic show. I think
Yeah,
it makes this work look ridiculous and this is not funny. This is
right.
not entertainment. This is very, very powerful work that we're talking about. So, what would you say is the difference, like, between that of someone going to a magic show and getting hypnotized versus what we're talking about here with really helping people get into these deep layers to heal?
Well, first of all, stage hypnosis is for one reason and one reason only, and that's simply entertainment.
Mhm.
Um, the type of hypnosis that we do for healing has nothing to do with that. It's fun, and
Mhm.
I've seen some people who are very good at it that can actually do that, but that's not what this kind of hypnosis is about in any way. First of all, I think, especially when people see that stage entertainment hypnosis happening, the biggest worry or the biggest misconception that I have found with people is that they think that hypnosis means giving up control. And in
Mhm.
reality, clients remain aware the entire time. They can stop the session whenever they choose. and I've had lots of people ask to stop the session because they have to go use the restroom. The other thing is, I cannot make someone reveal secrets or do something against their values. If somebody also has an extreme religious belief, I'm not there to try to change their religious belief or their cultural belief. That has nothing to do with what we're doing. It's about finding the places that their soul needs to go in order to heal something that is either prohibiting them from their evolution, their soul's evolution,
Mm-hmm.
or in some way holding them back. And it's important to remember that therapeutic hypnosis is a collaboration. The client is always the one doing the work. I'm just guiding the process.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really well said. And I know that based on when I've been channeling the ETs and working with different ET civilizations, that there have been ETs come into my channelings that I just didn't like their energy and I didn't want to talk to them. And that's one thing that I learned from the ETs is that if you don't want to talk to someone, you don't have to.
Right.
And so really no one can take your power away. If I would see ETs that I didn't want to talk to, like, for example, I won't get into this too much because I could go into quite a rabbit hole with this, but when I had COVID, there was a lot of ETs around me that were not ETs I wanted to talk to. And
Wow,
I
really?
figured out why. But that's definitely an interesting conversation. But I just would say you have to go away. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I'm not interested in whatever you're about. And that they have to respect that and they know that. That's the thing. And so nobody can ever take your power away. I always tell people that when they're interested in learning more about channeling and doing the work that we do and getting more into the metaphysical, spiritual side and being comfortable with those unknown energies and how to really do that, because a lot of people are scared of it. Because of what we've been taught that, oh, you don't want to have the boogeyman get you or the monster under the bed, so it's not like that. I mean, of course, are there entities and things that you don't want to interact with? Sure, but I don't pay attention to that stuff. I just am like, okay, yeah, I don't want to talk to you. But even in a magic show, they can't take your power away. They cannot do that unless you're giving that to them. So maybe it is a little bit of naive energy when people go to those magic shows and just like are on that thought process of thinking that they can do that. So they allow that to happen. But just for anyone listening to this, no one can take your power away.
Right.
But even if through therapeutic hypnosis, we absolutely are not ever trying to do that.
No, and people that have a lot of fear, during hypnosis, they discover experiences that actually give those fears meaning. Once they understand the root cause and can process the emotions that are connected to it, then the fear is no longer held in the same sort of power. I always tell my clients to be very careful about what they focus on.
Right.
Because if, for example, I have a lot of clients come to me and believe wholeheartedly that they have entities that are connected to their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they do or whether they don't, it's not up to me to decide.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in their experience, there's something there, whether it's a metaphorical symbol that's the person has, the client has actually decided is an actual entity, a spirit that is not benevolent, that has connected themselves to, or what, it doesn't matter. But the point is to find out what's there, why it's there, how it got there, and then to get rid of it. And even these spirits, we make very clear that they are handled with respect and love, and usually will go through the pomp and circumstance of sending them back to the light, because a lot of times they are, in a metaphorical sense or a real sense, they are attachments that are there. Either the client has placed there, or some clients believe that they just got it one day walking down the street and don't know why, don't understand why. They're usually some sort of belief system,
Right.
or some exterior mantra that that individual has placed there, and it needs to be severed and let to go free with love, always with love
Mm-hmm.
and forgiveness.
Yes, absolutely. Most important. Yeah, it's that could be definitely a long conversation too about really what
Yeah, right.
demons are and, lower vibrational beings and things like that, because are they really real, or is it just some sort of mindset that you're choosing to link up with? So, yeah, I mean, it's just, again, here we are back at that no one really has all of the answers, But the reality is that it's there. So if a client comes to you and they're feeling that, whether it's a mindset, wherever it's coming from, it's a demon that's a mindset, or they literally believe that it's something they picked up from maybe even people having sex together. That's a whole philosophy, that you have sex with someone and you're picking up all of their energies, because orgasm is a way that you internalize the person that you're having sex with. That's why sex is so sacred, and in my beliefs, and it's not something to play around with. You're internalizing people's energies, but so it
Or
could
if
be something
or
like
if you
that
do,
too.
just make sure you're bathing yourself in a white light and protecting yourself before you choose to go into a circumstance like that. I mean,
Right.
if that's what you want to do, fine, but make sure that you go on with protection.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And not just physical protection. We're talking about spiritual protection. We're talking
Little did
about
you know, you
both.
just thought we were talking about prophylactics.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, man, this has been such a great conversation, Julianne. I mean, we could talk forever. You just are it's just endless of the things that the
Well,
wisdom
it is. I
that
feel
you
like we just
have.
barely scratched the surface with it. There's so much more to it, but just as our sessions go on often for 4 hours, we could probably talk about this for 4 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you have an amazing podcast. I was on your podcast, and it's called Souls on Tap, and you're doing some really great work and sharing people's stories, and so anyone listening to this, definitely check out her podcast. And um yeah, tell us a little bit more about really what you're doing with your podcast. And I'm just, yeah, I want people to check it out for sure. It's really great.
So the name of my podcast is Souls on Tap, and it is available both on YouTube and Spotify. And I interview mediums and healers and near-death experiencers and channelers, lots and lots of holistic and naturopathic healers as well. But in every case, they're fascinating guests. And together we explore consciousness and healing and the mysteries of the soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely check out her podcast. It's really amazing, and she's doing some great work, and like she said, there's some wonderful people that she has on guest. And it's expanding. It's really getting quite large. So
It's
your
growing so
universe
fast.
loves it. Yeah,
It is, and I'm shocked. It just suddenly took hold one day, and we have a long way to go. But I think I'm at about 24,000 now
yeah.
subscribers. So
Yeah, it's really amazing. It's really grown quite a bit this year. So, and then how can people get in touch with you if they wanted to book a session, or they've got your ability the ability to be able to follow your podcast and check out those episodes? But what else would you suggest for people? I know you're on social media too.
if you're interested in a hypnosis session, I would urge all of you to please go to my website, which is www.juliannethon.com. You'll find out a lot more about what I do in terms of introspective hypnosis and polydimensional travel, which is something that you and I didn't even get into. If you are interested in being on my podcast, or you know somebody that you would like to recommend, you can reach me at probably the best way to reach me is through my email.
Perfect. And I'll make sure I link all of that in the show notes. And one thing I like to do at the end is just if there's any words of wisdom that you have, just anything we talked about, or any encouragement for anyone listening to this that might be experiencing some sort of remembrance in their journey and kind of confused on where to go next, or whatever it is you're thinking about. Like, is there anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think what I would like to leave with our listeners right now is I think one of the greatest gifts, certainly that I can provide for individuals, is helping people remember who they are beneath the fear, beneath the conditioning and limiting beliefs that they have carried for so, so long. Because a lot of us are still doing that. When people reconnect with that deeper part of themselves, healing often becomes a natural byproduct. And since we are trying now, as a part of the collective consciousness, to raise our energy higher with love and with understanding and with compassion, one of the first places I believe we need to start is by knowing thyself, understanding who you are. When you can figure that out, then you are free to understand how you can best help the collective consciousness, how you can be most effective in terms of helping this huge change that we can all feel is happening, going from 3D to 5D in a spiritual and a scientific and a metaphorical way. The last thing I would like to say is try to abolish fear as much as you can in your daily rhetoric to yourself. Don't focus on fear. Remember, Dolores Cannon said, fear is for entertainment purposes only.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you firsthand that when you believe that you are a part of Source all the time, and you believe that that love and that light surrounds you all the time, then you don't have to be fearful of anything. You can know that any decisions that you're making, any ideas that you're trying to work through is all being done with so much love. And there's no reason to feel that fear.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. I love that so much. And definitely great words of wisdom, and something that we can all use, especially as this world has become much more, I don't know. I feel like it's always been unpredictable.
Well, it's unpredictable, but but I think the thing that I think we're all feeling right now is there is a huge switch.
Yes.
Something is going on, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty wonderful. It's pretty
Yep.
wonderful.
We all signed out to be here in this, and it's such a huge opportunity to watch as it's transitioning into a new phase, a big phase, whatever that is.
Right?
Like you said, we don't really know, but we can feel it. We can all
Right.
feel it,
We
right?
can. And to be a part of it, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
How awesome is it that we chose to be here
Mm.
right now to be a part of this change? So,
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. And all our spirit guides are cheering us on, and the
Uh-huh.
ETs, they watch us and they're like, those humans. Some of those ETs are super funny. Well, Julianne, it was wonderful to have you on today. I'm just so excited about this conversation, and I know so many people are going to get so much out of everything you shared. And thank you again for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy. Any opportunity that I have to talk about healing, boy, I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining Julianne and me for today's conversation. I hope it left you with new questions, new perspectives, and a deeper curiosity about what exists beneath the surface of your own awareness. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you follow the High Frequency Mind podcast so you never miss a new conversation. And if the show has been meaningful to you, I'd love for you to leave a review, drop a comment, and share this episode with someone you think needs to hear it. Every follow, review, comment, and share helps these conversations reach more people. And today's conversation is only the beginning. Next week, Julianne and I are coming together again for a special 4-part crossover series between the High Frequency Mind podcast and Souls on Tap, called From Thought to Inner Knowing. Together, we're diving deep into what happens when we move beyond the noise of the thinking mind and begin connecting with the awareness, intuition, and inner knowing that already lies within us. You don't want to miss this series. And until next time, stay curious, tune out the noise, and go within.